Hey, friends, if you are tuning in, thank you so much for being here tonight. We have some friends that are joining us that have immense background in homeschooling and schooling actually being in person. And so tonight, I really hope that tonight we can be a huge resource to you. If you have any questions that you would like to ask one of our guests tonight, I would encourage you to post that question in the chat, which will be right next door here. The live chat, which is, I think, right here. I can't see for sure, but just post those questions in there and we will ask our live guests. Speaking of live guests, we have two amazing guests with us tonight. One is Miss Carol Garrett over here. She is a homeschool teacher of 21 plus years. 21 years she's been doing homeschooling. So she's going to be a wealth of resource tonight. And then we also have Miss Kirsten Berg right over here. She has been a school teacher in the Kaukauna district for 10 plus years. She's got a master's degree. And so we have a lot to share with you guys tonight. I'm glad that you are here. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, it's going to be a great night. So I think the first thing that we should do is we should start by explaining the difference between homeschooling and virtual learning. So Miss Carol, can you speak to that, what the differences are there? And I think that'd be a great way to start tonight.
Thanks, Nate. It's exciting to be here with you all. So a lot of people think that once you're doing school at home, you're homeschooling. And that's not exactly it. Homeschooling is when the parent or guardian chooses the curriculum, oversees the learning, really just steers that boat. In Wisconsin, it's very easy to sign up in homeschool. There's one simple form to fill out, and you step out of the school system. You're not required to do standardized testing. There's nobody's checking up on you. It is fully on you, which is awesome, but very different. You are the teacher, as opposed to virtual learning or doing school at home within the school system. So, Kirsten, you want to talk about that?
Sure. So virtual learning is what a lot of us ended up doing in the spring. That was more of, I would say, emergency virtual learning. But the idea for virtual learning is that what you would typically get in a face-to-face interaction in a classroom is replicated to the best of a teacher's ability online. So the school schedules are being followed. We're still responsible for the standards that, Common Core state standards have to be assessed, and rigorous learning, the minutes have to be met as well. So it's more of a school structured. So it is guided by a teacher, by a district, that is then pushed out to the students and families that would see it go.
Awesome. Miss Kirsten, can you quickly talk with us about what a schedule would probably look like in a school situation? And then I would love Ms. Carol to kind of explain, outside of that schedule, what can you do as a parent to help support that, and maybe things that might be outside of that to encourage even deeper growth there?
So your school schedules vary by the age that your child is. So for your littles, like your elementary friends, their schedules are going to be very condensed. So most teachers will then put out like 3 or 4, I'm going to say 15-minute lessons that your child would do. With your elementary friends, we understand that when they're home, they get a little squirrely. They want to play. They're still in that play mindset. It's hard for your elementary friends to realize that when they're home, they have to learn when home is fun. So we try really hard to give those 4 15-minute lessons that you as a parent get to choose. Now, I would say upper elementary, middle, and high school students, they are following their school schedule. We have found that brain developmentally wise, they are able to handle what I would consider a more rigorous system. And rigor obviously varies by grade, but with the understanding of, if it was an 85-minute class that your student would be participating in, they would have a 30 to 40-minute lesson that they would be responsible for. So understanding that no one wants to stare in front of a screen for 85 minutes to learn, but we can handle a 30-minute lesson. And so we're at schools now. In the fall, you will see that your schedules are being run as a school schedule. We are trying really hard to start off establishing normal routine expectations. So you'll see, if your kid starts, the day in math, then right away in the morning, they're getting up and they're starting math in the morning. If they move to science or social studies, then they're going to move to science and social studies. If they have lunch or a break period, we're building those in. So they would follow their schedule. Again, that schedule is created by the school, which is then shared with you as a family.
Awesome. So outside of the school schedule, what kind of routines should parents put in place? Maybe like the early morning routines, or as soon as school's done, like what kind of routines do you feel like would be helpful for parents?
So that's a great question. Whether your student is leaving the house or staying in the house, that schedule is really helpful, and a set of listed out things that need to happen. When my kids were little, we called them their R's, their responsibilities. And when they left the house to go to school, maybe that was a short list. They needed to eat breakfast and get dressed and brush their teeth, maybe make their beds, maybe not, make sure their backpack's ready. Potentially they have more time in the morning if they're learning from home. And so maybe you add something to that. Maybe you help build in learning those responsibilities for the younger ones, or maybe more responsibility with the older ones. You can work on those things that you can do when you have more time together, the character building. This extra time together really is a gift. It may not feel like it a lot of days, but God chose you to be the parent. And during this time, he's choosing you to be the teacher. And so it can really be a blessing for everybody. So once the school day starts, make sure to help keep that schedule. Check in. I know it's tempting because I've done it a lot of years. Oh, they're doing their thing. I'll go do my thing. With some students, you can do that. With others, you can't. Even a high schooler will need that regular checking in, or even sitting there with them. Are they staying attentive? Are they staying engaged? You know your student, and you know their attention span and what they're capable of. Make sure they have a designated space. My kids like to do school on their beds. It's not always conducive to staying awake. And so whether you set up, just a corner for them or the dining room table, give them a space, give them what they need. Their water right there, so they don't have to keep getting up and going and getting things. Help facilitate that. Also, there was a phrase that I learned years ago. You can't expect what you don't inspect. And so check in, see that the work's being done. It'd be awesome if we could take their word for it, but sometimes it's just good to see all the boxes are checked.
That's awesome. And I think another key point of this is, even though your kids are learning from home, prior to all this, hopefully some of you were asking the questions, hey, what'd you do at school today? What did you learn in school today? What are you going to make better tomorrow? Things like that. Still have those conversations. Those conversations are still very important. So I'd encourage you to still have those dinner conversations and see what they're learning and how you as the parent can help them grow even further. It's kind of a crazy season. Not only are you responsible for your child's learning in a lot of ways, but you're also still responsible for your child's spiritual growth, which we're praying for you. We're praying for you. And we want to come alongside you and help you in every way that we can. Miss Kirsten, can you speak to the fact that kids aren't going to be home forever? Like, this isn't a forever thing. This is a temporary thing. So what kind of things can parents do during the season to help them to prepare for going back to school eventually?
Most importantly, it's just it's making sure that we're establishing those same routines. As a school, we are, as school districts, we're trying really hard to give you a smooth, basically transition as you can go, as, going through the, modules, I guess, if schools are calling them now. So I know it can be a little bit confusing, but being able to know that, our goal for schools is to have your child back in. I am a parent myself, and yes, kids, I would love my child to go back to school. And so being able to understand that if my child's going to be successful, I have to help them be successful. And so, understanding that, it's going to take grace and you're going to make mistakes, but just being able to reach out to your classroom teachers, reach out to their teachers. as parents, we didn't go to, 4 years of math school to figure out how to do this, and you don't have to know that. So in order for them to be successful when they go back, we want to make sure that they're learning or, trying to cover the materials that you can see at home. So ask for help. Reach out to your teachers, send them emails. Again, I was, you don't know what you don't know. It's always kind of like a little teacher saying over here, like, we don't know what we don't know. So teachers don't know that you spent, 2 hours working with Johnny on, what should have been 10 minutes of homework. Like, I don't know. We don't know that. So let us know, hey, he spent 2 hours. We can problem solve with you, like we said, for the same homeschool. That usually it's pick an environment that works for your child. Usually their bedroom, not the best environment, kitchen table, out in the open. It's a casual way for you to walk in and be, hey, what you learning today? And you don't see like, they don't feel like you're like, checking in on them. It's more of a casual walk by. And the most importantly is adhering to that schedule. As much as we can get frustrated with a schedule, schools have that schedule so that your child knows, I still have to wake up in the morning. I still have to learn at 8 in the morning. I have to pause and eat food. I have to, I have different classes that I have to change to. I can't just do it all at 7 o'clock at night. No, please don't do all your work at 7 o'clock at night. The reason that we have that schedule is so that it's not cumbersome at the end of the day when we're trying to fight to say you have to go to bed as well. So letting them know, sticking with that schedule, doing it as you go, it can be a very smooth process.
Yeah, that's really good. Something that we learned in kids ministry, specifically when you send kids to camp and such like that, is if you don't set the schedule for the kids are going to set their own schedule. So you want to have some kind of control in that, so you are making sure that everything flows really well. One thing for me personally during this season is the lack of interaction with people. Facebook Lives, YouTube Lives, Zoom calls, things like that. I need interaction with other people face to face. And so, Ms. Carroll, can you kind of speak to how parents might be able to accomplish that during this season where kids aren't going to school to see their friends? What kind of things might they be able to do, or how have you done that as a homeschool parent?
Right. Creativity is key. As homeschoolers, we were home and we somehow got to see other people. It took effort, but we could be in close proximity to them. And now that's not as much of an option. But with a little effort on your part, reach out to those same friends. The parks are open. You can go masked up, bring the hand sanitizer. Running around never goes out of style. Come up with, what did they enjoy doing before? Was it coloring with chalk on the sidewalk? Well, then everybody gets their own square on the sidewalk. They can be distanced, but they're together. If you need a lot of distance, go to a tennis court and you get to play on this side and you get to play on this side. They're together, but they're apart. Zoom is still an option. None of us like it. Pastor Chad, I think last night, said it was from the enemy. I don't disagree. It's really miserable, but we get to hear each other's voices. We get to see each other's faces, and when it's been a long time, it counts for something. Also, Google the options. I just saw what's the sports complex at Appleton Alliance is doing kids afternoons out on their soccer fields. And they're organizing games and they're running them, and I believe they are free and open to the public. You don't even have to have a membership. So there are ways to get together. Start with those relationships that the kids already have. Keep building into those. But it might be a great time to meet somebody on the soccer field and start a new friendship.
That's awesome. Very much so. We all need that physical interaction with people. And so those are some really great ideas. And even if it's, to be honest, sometimes it's just even getting out of the house. Nobody wants to be cooped up in the house. So maybe if you don't have those close relationships or they're not available at that time, just going to Blue Bowls or, someplace. Thousand Islands is amazing in Kaukauna. So go to those places and just enjoy the outdoors and get out of the four walls of your home and enjoy that time. Ms. Kirsten, there's a lot of technology that parents are going to have to utilize, kids are going to have to utilize. Can you talk about how to navigate that technology for us?
Absolutely. So yes, there is a lot of technology. I don't know about you, but I may teach middle schoolers, and I had a kindergartner last year, and I knew zero technology things that I had to do with my son. And if you Google technology and like things that you can do, you're going to get a whole bunch of resources. So schools this year heard you. We understand that there's a lot of stuff out there. And so we have tried really, really hard to create uniform platforms. Now, platform seems like a big word. Like, what the heck do you mean by platform? So different schools call it different things. If you're in the Appleton School District, they went to Canvas, and you're like, oh, okay. If you're in most other districts, you've heard of something called Google Classroom. So, I mean, those are the platforms that are being used. And so just familiarizing yourself with that platform is going to be huge. There are tons and tons and tons of resources out there on your school district's web page. It's called a distance learning tab. And on that distant learning tab is every how-to video that you could think of. More often than not, if you are getting frustrated with a device or with a platform, 82% of the time, your child knows that platform better than you do. So I recommend having your child show you. It is amazing what kids can do when they get to teach somebody else. Even 7th graders who are 13, 14 years old that are way too cool for everybody like that, the moment you come to them and say, I have no idea what I'm doing, they're like, I got this. And they go right through and they start navigating. You're going to have to slow them down. So they're going to get frustrated because you're going to have to tell them to slow down a little bit, but it'll be great. And more importantly, ask. Ask your classroom teacher. If they're using a platform that you have no idea what it is, or they're asking you to go to a site or download a program that you're like, I have no idea what it is, ask them. We are like classroom teachers. We want to help you. We want to partner with you. We understand this is a difficult time. Virtual learning is not something that we had ever gone to school to think we were going to do. And so let us know. Let us know I need help on this. We have lots of resources available that we can send you a how-to video. We can walk you through over the phone, or like we talked about before, we can set up a Meet or a Zoom link with you, and we can share our screen and we can talk through anything that you want. You just have to reach out and ask.
That's really awesome. That's really awesome. Can we just take a moment, each of us, to find or to encourage parents? This has got to be super hard for parents. I can't imagine what it's like being a parent, and like outside of even the juggle of I work a full-time job plus we have virtual learning, I don't even know how I would handle that. But if I can speak to you parents, I need you guys to know you guys aren't expected to be pros. Like even people who go to school for their masters aren't necessarily always pros, even though I think Kirsten is a pro. But there's always things that they're learning, and there's always moments that they're like, oh, that was horrible. We can do that so much better. So don't beat yourself up. You've not went to school for this. This is being literally dropped in your lap. So just do the best you can and reach out. Like Ms. Kirsten said, those teachers are there to help you and to resource you. So reach out to teachers. Those teachers should become your best friends. Become your best friends. And remember, in as much as you're frustrated during the season, like this is a different thing, a different world for you, they're also feeling some of those same frustrations. It's a new thing for them as well. So learn along with them, give them grace just as much as they're going to give you grace. And this may be an amazing, amazing year. I believe it's going to be an amazing year. Miss Carol, what would you say to encourage the parents that are watching tonight?
I would say breathe. Your kid's education is going to go for years and years. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And so even though the spring seemed to last at least 5 years, it's just kind of a blip on the radar of their whole schooling time. And so if you wind up back at home again, maybe make a list of, we call it an Annie chart at our house. Affirmatives and negatives. Well, what are some of the good things about this? That, maybe Timmy learned how to make pancakes. There are those things that wouldn't have happened if they were at school all day. Or maybe, new personal best on the dirt bike jump. Or, there's just all kinds of things. That list can be really helpful. on the dark days. We chose homeschooling, and we had dark days where we wanted to quit, where the enemy was just beating us down, where we said, whose kids are these? And can we send them back? And so if you have a list of things that you love about your kids, things that are good about having them home with you, pull that list out and take it to a quiet place and just take it to God, because he will give you what you need to get through these times. Another phrase that I really like, that education is the lighting of a fire, not the filling of a bucket. And so each day may be like this mountain you have to cross, but it's part of a process. And if you think about your own education, do you remember all the formulas you learned? Do you remember all the scientific names? Do you remember the history, dates, and facts? No, but you were learning how to learn, and you were getting the discipline of applying yourself to something important that you do use today. And so just keep lighting that fire. And if you have a bad day, tomorrow's another day. You get another chance at it. And sometimes you just might need to reach out to your teacher and say, this was a bad day and we needed a break, and take a little space and then hit it again. Don't say, oh, we're throwing in the towel, we're not doing this anymore. But bad days happen, even when the kids are at school. Sometimes they're not really effective days, but they come back the next day and hit it again. We have those days at work. We have those days in life. And we can recover from them. And if we keep our focus on Christ, we can do all things through him because he gives us the strength.
Very well said. Miss Kirsten?
So, I mean, I guess to encourage you is, I'll restate the same thing, but you did not go to school. Most of us did not go to school to become a teacher. I mean, that is not your role. Your role is parent. And your main role is to support, to encourage, and to give your child the strength to know that they can get through this. When I teach, I have 3 little things on my wall that I look at every morning and multiple times throughout the day. It's, Philippians, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. I mean, literally, there are moments where you feel you can't go through this. And there's going to be moments where you're like, this is, like we said, this is the worst day ever. This is terrible. My child learned nothing. I'm a terrible parent. And, I can't teach my kid. I said that, and I have a master's degree in education, and I'm married to a licensed clinical counselor. And we have thought that we have messed up our child. Like he's never going to learn again. Where's moments we had. We know that's not true, but we can still say it. And you have to say it out loud to hear it and go, wow, that sounds really silly. It does sound really silly. Understanding that the Lord will never give you more than you can handle. We may not like it. We may get frustrated with it, but he is never going to put more on your plate than you can handle. With that being said, you as a parent need to know if you are putting more on your plate. He will give you a full plate, but we as parents tend to put more on our plate because we want our child to be successful. That's when you feel yourself putting more on your plate. Please reach out to somebody, reach out to a friend, reach out to a neighbor, call your teacher, let somebody know that this is too much. Nobody is ever, I tell this all the time, if you don't learn one lesson, you are no longer going to fail at life. That is not our goal. Our goal as schools is to create global citizens. So one day of not learning the Pythagorean theorem, which is a big word that you're all like, I probably have heard that before. Yeah, it's not going to make or break you. You're going to be okay. And the last thing that I always put on my wall that I look at every single morning is the serenity prayer. Because often I feel that I try to change, but I can't change. And so the last part of that is, it's the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, courage to change the things I can. And the biggest part for me is the wisdom to know the difference between them. And so understanding that we can't change the situation that we're in. We can't. But however, we do have the courage to be able to go through the things you can change. You can change how you approach a situation. You can change how you view a situation. You can change your words. You can change your beliefs. You can change what you feel about the education system in order to give your child the best experience. And so that's what I would encourage you to do. change how you're viewing the situation so that your child is understanding that this is temporary and that things will get better.
Very well said. Very well said. And remember, you're not in this alone. God is with you. And as Kirsten was saying, God will never put more on your plate. Sometimes it seems like there's more on our plate. And the real reason is that God does sometimes put a little bit extra on our plate so that we'll go back to Him to ask for His help, to ask for His courage, to ask for wisdom in those moments. So make sure that you personally, as a parent, are keeping in the Word. You're having your chair time. You're setting your time aside to be alone with God so that God can continue to fill you. So it's been great hanging out with you tonight. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions that maybe you didn't think of tonight or that you didn't get to us and you still would like answers to questions, email me at natef@pathwayschurch.us. I will get it to these wonderful ladies and we will get you an answer to the best of our ability. We so appreciate you coming out tonight, hanging out with us. We hope you have an amazing week. Thank you guys. We'll see you later. Click this button right there. See you guys later.